Dope.
How did you pull off an interview with Elon?
And then we went to talking about like your favorite Jack in the Box meal, to
Yeah, I
dating,
remember that.
to like religion.
Hey everyone, this is Shareef here at SS Customs. Today we have a very special guest. I have a good friend and called business associate, whatever have you. But it's our friend John at Tesla Owners of Silicon Valley. We also have,
You know, your boy AJ.
got to get in the mic, AJ.
You know, it's your boy AJ. What's up with it? How we doing tonight?
There it is. You can hear it.
AJ over here at SS Customs, and then John. So, without any further ado, I'd like to welcome you to our Under Wraps podcast. And we're going to fire it off with getting a little bit to know about Tesla Owners of Silicon Valley and what John's all about.
Sounds good. Thank you, Shareef and AJ, for having me. You guys have been an amazing partner and really friend over these past, it's almost close to 4 years. I think September of 2019 is when I think I walked through your guys' door back at the old, and was that industrial? No, this is Industrial Road, but at the old location,
El Camino?
El Camino. And I remember meeting you and Andrew and just hanging out and just talking. And I think we were literally a year into this club. So thank you again for your time and your partnership and for having me on today.
I appreciate you coming out.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. It's been quite the journey. We saw you over there. It was El Camino location. We had the glass front building.
Yep.
For those of you who don't know, we used to have a glass front building on El Camino, and it was like one of the main streets in Silicon Valley that connects pretty much. It's like the main corridor, goes across the whole way from San Francisco to San Jose, essentially. But we had a glass front building, and
Yeah.
we had a bunch of cars. You could drive by, see all the cars inside the building, and one
Yeah.
day, how did you find us, by the way?
I remember just looking up Yelp reviews, and then also too that it was a Tesla Veterans Day stuff that you guys had done. You guys obviously had done a ton of Teslas. You guys were involved, especially even in the early days of just wrapping their cars and stuff. So when we were looking for specifically a wrap shop, you guys obviously were the first things that came up, and so it was just, hey, let me reach out. We're pretty much a nobody, so I'll just see if these guys even take the call, let alone are willing to meet up. And obviously, also checked out your guys' Instagram, had a big following there. You guys always had something going on, and so that's at least. But I believe it was on Yelp, and then from there the Instagram, and then also too just finding out like kind of more of your Tesla history as well.
It is.
Yeah.
Shout out Bobby and Tanya, for looking out on the Yelp and the Instagram. What's up?
Absolutely, man. So, Tesla owners of that project that we did for Tesla corporate, they hired us to do a lot of their early on builds. So, as you know, the first they have a bunch of cars that are parked on their factory floor in Fremont, which
Yep.
is like the military themed ones. So they had a veterans hiring department. I don't know if it's still active, but a good friend of mine used to work there. He was a VP of manufacturing, and became good friends as we worked through these projects. But he had he hit us up to be like, hey man, we want to do these military themed designs for our
Yep.
veterans hiring department. So we've done every iteration of, I think, for the military, except for like maybe Coast Guard and a few others.
Yeah.
Air Force One, but for the most part, the major military branches we did. We wanted to do one for POW, Air Force. Air Force One, and then the other one I mentioned, Coast Guard.
Yeah.
But we didn't get around. I think the program started to die down. They started getting really big in manufacturing and production. But
Yep.
those cars that we did do were over there.
Yeah.
And that's how a lot of people found out about us in the beginning.
Yeah,
Maybe
no, I
you
mean,
as well.
even now, a lot of the photos people will post of Teslas from Veterans Day, or a lot of them are the work that you guys have done. So those are pretty iconic, I think, within the community as far as like just the work that you guys have done. So people know your work without knowing.
Yeah, I would say those were really fun projects, man. It's like a big automotive manufacturer who's like just super popping in terms of buzz at that time. They're hitting you up and we're like, dude, Elon's company's hitting us up to design a car for them. And it was, it wanted the Army at first, so we did this like, camo design for them. And but we went all out. So we're like, we're going to the military the surplus store. We bought all this extra military surplus. We built a rack on top, put all these like extra military components on top, which were like ammo boxes and fuel and which we relabeled as like water containers and this, that, obviously, right?
Yeah.
So we had to do, like, we came up with all these like really cool contraptions. Like if this was an actual, vehicle out in the Army, how would it look? And, we camouflaged the wheels. We had them green with camo and everything. And that was probably some of the most fun, but under pressure fun we've ever had working on a project. It's like got to be top 10.
So you just did Army, or did you go into the other?
No,
three
we've done
branches as well?
Navy. I would say the
Marines.
coolest one. Did you ever see the one we did for, what was it? The Air Force?
I may have. I mean, I probably wouldn't. I'm probably the worst person to know the difference, to be honest.
Air Force was a Model X.
Okay.
Right?
Oh yeah, definitely.
And the Model X
It's
we
got the
had,
wings.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was a prototype car. So they were, as you know, I don't know if you remember
Yeah.
with Tesla, but the Model X was one that was every car that came out. Model S, oh, they're gonna fall apart. Model 3, they're gonna fall.
Yeah, of
like
course.
every car was like, this is gonna be the end to them, right?
Yeah, of course.
And the Model X was that one. It was just really crazy. The doors and the Falcon doors, and there's just so many things, automatic closing doors, and they just had all these crazy ideas that nobody was doing, and they're like, I think everybody was like, oh, this is gonna be their demise. They're doing too much, right?
Yep.
So we had this car fully broken down in pieces in a glass front building on El Camino, basically Silicon Valley, and people are driving by, and somebody at Tesla drove by. I don't know who it was, but it was somebody high up enough to see, what the hell? That's our model. That's the Model X, and it's broken in pieces in some building on El Camino that anybody driving by could see. And it's like the car that hasn't been unveiled really fully yet.
Yeah.
And we have one, and we got it in pieces because we're doing this crazy design theme on it.
He'd come in and be like, you need to put curtains up. You need to board the windows.
They did. They ended up calling. I don't know how many places it went throughout Tesla, and it probably went this crazy chain of command before whoever was in charge of the project called us up and was like, hey, you got to board up your windows or cover them up or something, because somebody called us at a corporate level really high up saying that who the hell are you, these guys on El Camino who have our car taken apart.
Yeah.
It's a prototype car.
Yeah.
Right? So we ended up
imagine.
boarding up the windows, and then we ended up doing the work. But you could tell it was a prototype car. I mean, it had its, it definitely was, they were putting it through its paces and figuring out what works and what doesn't.
Yeah.
But that design was so cool because it was all satin chrome. It was mirror tints, so it was like a plane cockpit. So it was all mirror tints. So, and we had the trunk would open. There was a parachute that would come out. So we tried to give it the Air Force type of vibe, and it just looked. And it had all the I forget what the popular fighter jet was at that time, under U.S. contract, but that they were manufacturing. But that particular one, whatever it was, we modeled it after that.
See, I'd have had to, if I was around at this time, which now I'm sad I wasn't because that sounds great, but if I was around at this time, so I got a lot of family and friends that are all in the military, and I love how they give each other, is that alright? How they give each other shit, they give each other crap, use whichever one you want to use. On the Air Force one, I had to put like a little chair, because like my uncle that's in the Marines will tell the other ones like, oh, it's the chair force, not the Air Force, because all you do is sit on your ass. And like they give each other like little chips like that, and then like if you had a Marine one, put like a little crayon on there, like, oh, here's your lunch or some shit. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like little tiny trinkets in that just to mess with the people that are in there, because then they would know and they'd probably find that really funny. Yeah,
Oh, for sure, man.
that'd be hilarious.
There's so many different ways you could probably run with this. We did the Navy too.
Yep.
We did a bunch of what was the other one we got the opportunity to do. Those are the ones that really come to mind, just fresh.
I mean, it's the big four: Marines,
Yeah.
Army, Navy, Air Force. Then you got Coast Guard.
I want to say we did we did the Marines too. It was a digital camo.
There you
So
go.
the whole thing was digital camo. That one gets shared all the time.
Yeah.
I don't know, you see that one.
Yeah. There's like 4 or 5 images that I can think of.
Yeah, that pop
that are
up.
just out there.
But at any rate, man, they're all fun stuff, and they're all. I mean, this is Tesla. We're talking about Teslas because of Tesla owner Silicon Valley, right? We got John here. So the whole idea of getting behind the Tesla market and starting a club for Tesla owners. I mean, it seems like it would be like no brainer. Anybody would be doing it, but at
Yeah.
that time, nobody was doing it. I would assume.
Yeah, so it's pretty crazy. I mean, even again, I don't know how what years you were working on those projects, but this is the Silicon Valley, literally probably the most expensive place on the planet to build a car. And you would think also too, like, you know, this is where the most dense of owners is, and yet there hadn't been a club that had been started here. So the difference with us is we're an official partner to Tesla, hence why we get to use their logo in Tesla owners, and then you'll see the Silicon Valley, but then you'll see the Tesla logo, which we call like the meatball. So that's what kind of differentiates us. I found out, like, I got kind of like most owners, you step into a Tesla, and your kind of life just changes. I mean, without kind of getting on a soapbox. But, you know, I was driving 70 miles a day, doing the long commute, almost like 2.5 hours in traffic in the Bay Area, just pretty bad. And, you know, autopilot pretty much just changes your life, right? Because it's like with young kids, you know, getting home after a long day of work plus sitting at an hour 15 in traffic. So that's ultimately like what just drove the passion. I was like, where are the other owners? And then I jump on Twitter because that's where Elon was. And I found out about the owners program. And there was a couple of people that paid it forward to just get the word out because I needed 25 VINs. So I got the 25 VINs, and from there, that's just kind of like what started it all, literally in October of 2018. So we haven't even been that, around that long when Tesla's been around, you know, almost 20 years now. So it's pretty insane to just see, you know, the journey just start like that. Again, I'm not an early adopter. Like I wasn't, you know, a Model S owner back in 2012. A Model 3 owner, so I'm part of the new wave of like the cheaper cars. I think that's what originally pissed off a lot of the original owners, right? Because they were the ones buying the $150,000 Roadster and Model S and eventually Model X. But I was part of the Model 3 wave. And so it was pretty, again, incredible to just be able to kind of, I guess, land on something that ended up just being, obviously, is a huge part of my life right now and something I'm really passionate about, and I'm really excited to help just build the community and meet people like yourself, SS Customs, and being able to work with just some amazing people.
You want to say something?
I got so many questions, man. I'm not gonna lie. I'll start with like, so what does TOSV do? What do you?
Yeah, so
get it's a club, but-
yeah, exactly. So what makes Tesla owners different is not only, as you can probably see, like when you go to some of these like car meetups, is not only we car enthusiasts, we're also activists as well. And a lot of that goes back to the mission of what Tesla is, right? It's to push, accelerate things to sustainability, right? And so because of that, like when there's a lot of things happening within California, we'll be pretty active about that. We'll do beach cleanups. We'll do beers, tacos, Teslas with you guys. We'll do the largest, there's an event called Tesla Takeover. We had over 2,200 people down in San Luis Obispo. It's kind of like, I would say like the Woodstock, but for Tesla owners.
Yeah.
And as we all know, if you guys are Apple fans, maybe you're not, but back when the iPhone came out, there was kind of this like cult following, just like everyone just like, they loved their phone. They
Still
could
is.
that. Yeah.
Still
and
is.
with Tesla, that was the same way because they all wanted to see this company succeed when the mainstream media and literally shorts, they wanted the company to go bankrupt. And so that, I think, is what kind of ignited this community. But our club does everything from, again, car meetups to cars and coffees to beach cleanups to awesome drives to, again, that Tesla takeover that typically happens in July. And then we'll do things like holiday toy drives. We just had a holiday toy drive with the Palo Alto Fire and Police Department. We gave over $10,000 of toys. And we'll do like GoFundMe reliefs. Like Austin froze over literally, I think 2 or 3 years ago. They had never had a freeze over, so you're literally talking like pipes are frozen and people are just, they don't have access to water.
Yeah.
So, you know, we raised close to $10,000 for that. So we're, you know, very involved in the community, specifically in any way we can kind of give back. So it's not just like, it's pretty multifaceted. It's not just like, we're just a typical car club.
Yeah.
You know?
I'd love to hear it.
Yeah. So that's, I think, kind of like what differentiates us versus the rest.
Nice.
Yeah.
I want to say the whole Tesla market is so different than like our car clubs growing up.
Yeah.
Because it was new car manufacturer, new car club, right? A lot of people that are getting into, I want to say the tech world, from the tech world. They were like tech junkies that were just love stuff that's, whether it's gaming or the latest electronics or whatever it is. And I think Elon handed them a car, right? It was
Yep.
like the highest tech version of whatever they were using. They were like, oh, I got to have it. Because there's a bunch of people that are in the Tesla space that were like, I got to have it, people. Like the latest, greatest tech. And they never cared about cars.
Yep.
So when the world handed them a brand new, shiny tech object that was a car, they were like, okay, I'm going to get into cars. And we experienced this firsthand as car customizers because we were just one after the other of Tesla owners who never were into cars before or customizing cars, walking bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, man, into the shop saying, hey, I just bought a Tesla and I want to customize my car. And they treated it as if they were modding, a PC at home or something like that. It was crazy. And they're like, hey, what can I do here? And I want to change the color there, and I want to do that. And then we got to do lights, and we got to do whatever it was that they were coming up with that just would make it personal to them and make them feel that same type of vibe they feel like when they're building something at home.
Yeah.
And so it was really cool, man.
Dude, they've gotten so creative with it too. Like I've seen some that's come through here, and then by the time this one releases, we should have another one done. Y'all gotta check it out on the SS Customs Flickr. We're doing a Tesla Model 3. It's already bagged the whole 9. It's getting a DBZ vinyl wrap done on it.
I'm gonna have to check that out.
Majin Vegeta. And it's the sickest thing I've seen. Like, it's definitely, like, by far going to be one of my favorite Teslas. But, yeah, no, like just the customization that it has dove off the deep end, especially since the Model 3 has been wild. So, it's insane.
I think, Shareef, going back to your comment, too, I think that's what made Tesla unique, right, is that it brought people from, people just techies, right, just like they wanted the latest iPhone or the latest, greatest tech, and boom, it's just like there it is rolling off the line. To activists as well. I actually was one of the people that I didn't really care too much about, I wasn't pushing the mission forward per se, like, all about sustainability per se, as much as I've kind of over time become more like that. But for me, it was just that car is fast, like off the line. And I mean, ultimately, like, sure, people are like, oh yeah, it's not as fast as you start taking turns, but how often are you actually, going up to the mountains and actually doing that? But for me, what was great about it was the latest and greatest tech, but also too, it was like the fastest thing off the line. And you didn't have to spend $100,000, right? You could get a performance Model 3 for like $60,000, right? And that's faster than an M3, right? And so I think that's what was awesome about it too. And that's what I got into it. And obviously everything else is kind of history now.
Yeah, performance-wise, it changed the whole game, man. When it comes to EVs, Tesla has really obviously pushed the bar, but they've changed the whole demographic of what a performance car is. Now people know that, oh, it's an EV. It's an EV is not fair, you know what I mean? But it is what it is. It's the future of what automotive space looks like.
They're pairing it against things like the P100D. They're putting it against the Bugatti Chiron, and it's like, well, the Bugatti Chiron's beaten it in the quarter mile by like a car length. It's 6 feet. They're beating it in the quarter mile by 6 feet. I was like, yeah, but that's a $4 million car.
I know, dude.
It's got like 4 turbos in it, dude.
Yeah.
Like, what are you talking? Like, the fact that you're even comparing it says a lot.
Dude.
Like, it's insane.
You have a P100D that you can pick up your family in, right?
Yeah.
And you have your like you, your wife, 2 kids, and a dog, right?
And still cargo space in the back and the front.
And
Like,
you
it's
still
like-
got cargo space in the front and in the back, and you're comparing it to a 16-cylinder quad turbo, supercar that's going down the strip, and that's what the world's come to. The last time I seen anything like this was probably like the 80s and 90s, when you saw like cars that should not be doing things that they should be doing.
Yeah.
Like you mentioned the first podcast, like the GNX, right?
Oh, man.
Or the GMC Cyclone, or other cars that shouldn't be. Why is McLaren getting together with GMC or Buick or something like that, ASC McLaren, and building cars? And obviously things fizzled out, technology caught up, but this is the next iteration of tech.
Yep.
And again, you're now doing the same things where you have like a 4-door passenger vehicle being compared to a Bugatti Chiron, right?
Soccer mom Model X towing a soccer mom Model X, beating a Porsche in a quarter mile.
Pretty much.
Yeah, dude.
That was another wild one.
Yeah, I think, and also too, EVs up until Tesla had such a bad name, right? I mean, Prius was the epitome of that, right? I mean, I don't know if you guys have driven a Prius before. You would step on that thing and I could walk faster than that thing was moving. And so I think that was what was amazing about what Tesla did and the timing of it.
Don't forget about the drivers, bro.
I didn't want to bring that up.
Bro, he wasn't ready for the noise at all. You made the noise. He's like, what the hell was that?
Hey, hopefully that doesn't become a thumbnail.
Oh, man.
Yeah, no, but without getting into the drivers, just the timing of what Tesla was doing, they literally took probably the car with the most stereotypes and literally transformed all of it. They made it, it looked great. It was fast. It was the latest tech. And again, it didn't look like a Lego that's just like driving by. And so I think that's what, just changed the game, is that Elon literally wanted to bring something that was just going to make it literally the best car on the planet, irrespective of if it was gas or electric. He just wanted to make the best car. And so I think you can clearly see that versus, like, let's say, some of these other cars that are out there. The goal and intent is just to more of like push cars off the line, which is, not how Tesla started. Right?
Well, he had a really smart game plan too. Like, he started with the Roadster. He started with the $150,000-$200,000 car, just to leverage the money that was made off of that to get into the more mass production things. Like, He had a really smart game plan when he got brought into the industry.
Yeah, I mean, we could spend like 5 podcasts on just their roadmap and how insane and ahead of the future it is, right?
Oh, definitely.
I mean, even I don't want to necessarily derail unless you want to go down this path, but just thinking, as you said, the roadmap, thinking about building these expensive cars to eventually build the mass production cars, and then also too, on top of that, building the supercharging network, building something that can literally take care of recalls, that can be updated with software updates, like, whereas instead, like, if I were to have a Jaguar I-Pace, I'd have to go to the dealership for a software update. So it's just like how they fully just vertically integrated everything along with the solar, so you can literally charge your car, back it up, obviously with the power walls, but it's all literally off of the sun and fully integrated. But just the whole roadmap, like you see, I think it was it Honda and Mercedes that just recently teamed up to do a supercharging network as well. But this is like 2022.
And it's funny because if you look at some old interviews, one of those companies said that, we will never do an EV. And now look at them here. It's multiple companies that are like that.
It's wild, man, how things have come full circle, and they're only going to get, it's inevitable, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean,
like,
even in Tesla's history, we're maybe in the second inning, where, they just put out 1.3 million cars last year. Out of, I think in the U.S. market, they sold like 14 million, but again, globally, they put out 1.3. So there's just a long way to go. And also too, at some point, there's rumors of them potentially launching like a cheaper car out of China, and potentially one without even like a steering wheel and stuff. So we'll see, like, what's next, but it's just really the beginning at the end of the day.
See, they still got the semi that's supposed to come out. They got the Cybertruck that's supposed to come out. Or it got
they delivered 16, or there's 16 on the road for Pepsi right now.
There we go.
And December 1st, so you
Cheetos.
can see them.
I saw one for Cheetos, right?
Yeah.
You didn't see that?
Yeah.
That's all over the internet. People were like, what? That's a flaming hot or whatever it was.
Yep.
The Cheetos one.
Hilarious.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah. So if you live around the Modesto area, you can go check those out. There's like 16 semis just running around. So they're still doing a lot of testing before they like ramp this thing. But yeah, them going after the semi industry is just going to be a game changer for them.
Cybertruck.
Yeah,
that's huge.
Dude,
Makes the F-150
I
look
have
tiny.
been patiently waiting for a Cybertruck, man. And I know a lot of people have. Was really hoping that, we would be driving it fully customized by now. But
this is the year.
Yeah, that's
this
what
is
they're
the
saying,
year,
man. That's what they're saying. So I'm patiently waiting. I know I'll have to offload a car or something, but it'll be worth it just because I know what I want to do to it.
Yeah.
And we're gonna have a fun time with that one, man.
Dude, that truck. So I don't think I've mentioned this on the podcast before, but I actually went to school for vehicle or automotive design. And when that thing came out, polarizing, man, because everybody in the design community is like, he did everything you're not supposed to. everything. The hard angles, the lopsided whatnot, and like everything. We're like, what is this? He made that in Illustrator. Like, that's not even Photoshop. Like,
No, it was polarizing. The first 5 minutes of me watching the presentation on TV, I was kind of like didn't know what to say.
Did you drop
right?
your beer?
Right. I mean, if I hadn't been sober for 9 years, I probably would have.
oh, man.
But I saw that, man, and I was like, man, this is wild.
Yeah.
And then as it's progressing forward and the presentation's going on, it just, all these like memories of childhood started popping in my mind. I'm like, oh, this looks like Aliens 2. Oh, this looks like something from like OCP, from RoboCop, right? And I'm looking at all these different design cues that I'm like, did this guy just design something from his childhood? Like, what the heck? You know what I mean? Like, what we thought in the 80s and 90s what the future was going to look like.
Yeah.
Basically, that's what the car looks like. Somebody from the 80s and 90s was like, this is what the future is going to look like. And then you get the Cybertruck, right? But I think for that alone, it has that factor that speaks to people of my generation that grew up watching these movies. And like, it's probably in my top 5 movies of all time is RoboCop and other movies like that were cult classics that are Terminator and things like that.
Terminator, yeah.
And when you look at movies that are like that, for me growing up, where I was just amazed as a kid, and then seeing a car that kind of has the representation of that era, it makes me want it more. And I can see where the designers are probably like, what the hell is this? You know what I mean? But for me, it was like, dude, now it's like I want it more. And then they had a little ATV come off the back.
Yep.
Yeah. And I'm like,
and it can charge on it too.
Dude, I want that now too. So
The ATV looked sick. I'm not gonna lie. I did like the little.
they're coming for you. They're coming for you.
Uh-oh.
How did you know, man? No, so I went to the Cybertruck reveal. That thing
Thanks
came
for the
out.
invite, by the way.
Man,
You're
TFTI, bro.
Yeah, that was November 2019, and went to it. And when that thing came out, I'll be honest, they had like flames of fire or whatever, and it just came out. I was like, I literally just stared at it for like 5 minutes without realizing, because no one expected it. That's the thing. I mean, Elon will even say it. No one expected the Cybertruck. And I'll be honest, I think you were like day one. RSVP or put your thing. I waited a month because it took about a month to grow on me. But as you said, like with your background in vehicle design, just it was very polarizing.
Yeah.
It was like, but now, I mean, people are estimating the orders are up over 3 million. So even if they filled like 25% of those, I mean, you're still talking huge runway. So yeah, it's pretty crazy. Looking forward to seeing those things on the road.
And I think there's something sneaky about the way he did it too, because it's either, right, it's either he wasn't confident in it, or he knew that like hella people were going to be confident in it. And the reason I say this is because the Model S, you needed
in 2019 and even now, they're at such a better place financially, right?
Yeah.
Versus like, because people could just, as you know, with the $100 order, you can just cancel it, and that's it.
Yeah.
And it's not. But when you put $1,000, $5,000 down, it's more of a commitment. Like you're gonna double think that before you just press cancel.
For sure. Just to reiterate what he's saying, if the audio was off, was AJ was talking about it was a little sneaky if it was $100 versus $5,000 for the Model S.
it was like $3,000 for the Model 3 or
Something like that.
Yeah,
So
something like that.
Talking about deposits to order the car. So $100 was, were you confident in your decision or not, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But
Or was it a lure to get even more people to go like, because I'd have probably 15 friends who have a reservation on for one. So it's like, it was $100. Like, why not?
Yeah.
So
dude,
it's kind of like,
the amount of people that won't go through because they just put $100 to say they put $100 is going to be huge.
Yeah.
But the point remains is he got $100 from him.
That's what I'm
So
like,
it's
it might
actually
be a
3
little
million
sneaky.
people.
Yeah.
And again, even if it's like you fulfilled 20% of that, I mean that's just going to be
Wild.
insane, right?
Insane.
And
And
that's a lot of money
most
up
people are
front.
not going to worry. They probably forgot they put $100 down. To be honest, it's been a couple of years now. So honestly, it was a brilliant move. I think, like you said, it was really smart. But man, I want to talk about the elephant in the room with this one, dude. How did you pull off a interview with Elon, dude?
Yeah, I think actually AJ and I were chopping it up a little bit earlier off camera, but yeah. So as you know, I mean, we have been one of Elon's largest and most vocal supporters, since 2018. and through some of the rougher times, right? When this guy's like sleeping on the factory production hell of the Model 3. And like I literally, to the point where it's like I was going out and remaking videos. I literally had a neighbor, not a neighbor, but someone that lived 3 exits up from where I do, put out a video of autopilot trying to turn into a wall. I mean, people were living, breathing this company going bankrupt, that they could taste it. So it's one of those things where Elon's, obviously he's a brilliant guy, but he's also got his quirks. But one of the awesome things about him is that he's actually loyal to those who were loyal to him. And so we just built this relationship, really, to be honest, over Twitter. And, over the years, just putting out like great information, throwing events for the owners, really building the community. To the point now we interact with the guy probably anywhere from 5 to 20 times a week. And so it was through all of that, again, we just built his trust. He knew who I was. And, we had even exchanged emails on some various things that were going on. And the first time actually I missed meeting him was when he came to the Fremont factory for deliveries December 31st, 2019. And his mom came, and I think maybe even his sister, but they were all in the Bay Area, and they came, and we were helping with deliveries. Our club was helping. But on New Year's Eve, I only had the green light to go away for the first part of the day, not the second half. So of course he comes the second half. But either way, that's kind of like, so we had kind of missed, and again, I had been to the Cybertruck event, so I had seen him kind of from afar. But, really what it came down to is, there was a thread going on Twitter, and people were just talking about who was the original founder for Tesla. And I think there's a guy named Martin Eberhard who was one of the founders, but ultimately Elon has felt that he has just been on a campaign to essentially remove Elon as one of the original founders, even though Elon already had the idea before he even connected with Martin Eberhard and the other person. So it was one of those things I was like, hey, Elon, let's get this on camera. Let's record this so we can just people can have a resource on the early days of Tesla and really what the story was. And he said, sure. And then he responded back to, hey, we should add JB Strobel, who was also one of the other co-founders as well. But the funny thing is that I never heard anything after that. And so it literally wasn't until I think it was May of this year. So that happened in April of 2022. Fast forward a month later, I just catch him literally at the right time on a Sunday while I was literally sitting with my wife at a supercharger. He's tweeting. I said, hey, when are we doing this interview? He said, tomorrow afternoon.
Oh, shit.
And I'm literally like, I literally take my phone and I show my wife. I'm like, yeah, like that's going to happen, right? Because it had already been a month since I had tweeted at him about it.
Yeah.
And, without going into too many details, it was one of those things where I think I was being filtered out from some communications with him. Long story short, I sent him an email, and he responds within 5 minutes. He says, hey, I'm doing my own calendar now. Tomorrow afternoon, 2 p.m. And I'm like, LA, Fremont, Austin. Like, which one is it? He says, Austin. He's literally, and that's how he is with his responses. He only gives, like, one-word answers. So don't send him, like, a 2-paragraph email. He won't even read it, probably. I mean, I don't want to speak for him. But so long story short, we knew, okay, so he's going to be in Austin. We knew he's going to be in Austin. So I call one of my friends, Ryan from the Kilowatts. I was like, dude, I need you to record this. And he's like, sure, yeah. So we literally, within 4 hours of the tweet, I'm on a plane headed to Austin, not even sure if I'm going to do this live with him or if I'm going to be in a hotel doing a Zoom, thing with him as well. So, so we were up in the air, and then it was able to confirm with him, like, hey, this is who I'm bringing. This is, what we're going to do. And then he says, yeah, Gigafactory Austin, 2 p.m. So I think we got there at 5 a.m. because we took the red eye out. So we got to Austin at 5 a.m. and we got to the factory at 12. I took a small nap, prepared the questions. And yeah, and then what was crazy is, so it was that Monday, I believe it was Memorial Day, he was off. So I think we caught him at the right time, because the people in the podcast you'll see him go live with, they never get 4 hours with the guy. So we had 4 hours with him to literally talk about everything. So we spent probably the first 2 hours on the early days of Tesla. And then we went to talking about like your favorite Jack in the Box meal, to
I remember
dating,
that.
to like religion, to updates on the Cybertruck. So one of the breaking things was like we were able to confirm with him that the Cybertruck design had been finalized, like final. And then he had given a notion that the Cybertruck's coming to production this year, middle of this year. So it was pretty mind blowing. Literally, this happened over Twitter, and it just that I think that's one of the things that makes Twitter unique. Is it just makes the hierarchy flat. Like I don't need to call your boss's boss to like somehow get access to various CEOs and other people. And so so I think that's ultimately how it happened. Probably definitely a moment in life for sure. Really thankful for that, especially with what the guy's doing and how much he's making an impact. I mean, you take outside of the recent stuff with Twitter, literally the two hardest things that you can think of to solve, he's solving. Make an electric vehicle car company from scratch, right? Like make a sustainable car that's awesome. And then reusable rockets. Because up until that point, like we hadn't been to the moon since the late 60s. Like we went to the moon and we stopped. Like that's when space exploration kind of stopped in the US. And really, we got to the point where we're literally paying like Russia, like I think it was $80 million per seat to the International Space Station. So here, this guy is literally like making it now where SpaceX is a private US-based company, and we're sending, like he's flying, he's sending rockets to space every week. I think they sent 60 last year. And some of them obviously are for Starlink and the satellites, but they sent a bunch to the International Space Station, a bunch of astronauts. They sent the first private citizen rocket ship to orbit the Earth.
I remember that.
Right? Yeah, so I think it's just...
feedback?
No, I don't think so.
All right, cool.
Do you hear a piano?
Yeah, it's our neighbors.
We're gonna bring you in closer to the mic. They're playing
Yeah.
some kind of music
Okay.
next door.
Well, I'm not hearing it in the headphones.
I'm not really hearing it either in the headphones.
I am. Yeah, I can hear it for sure. But these are also probably not noise canceling, right?
What? No,
Headphones?
these are not like fully noise canceling because, like, I'm trying to pick up, and you could probably pick it up.
I'll
in the
say
background.
turn them all the way up and we'll hear it in the ears.
Yeah, see, I could hear that.
Yeah.
Right, but then we're pulling it down. If I'm speaking like closer into the mic, you're
Yeah.
not gonna pick it up because now the mic is not as sensitive.
Yeah.
And so we're just gonna have to talk a little bit closer to the mic for right now. But
you want me to get this close? Like, what are we doing?
I'll make sure to get really close.
The other thing is, so when I saw that, I was tripping out when I was like, holy crap, this dude just got the interview bagged of like the century, man. He's talking to the world's probably one of the most influential people in our time.
Yep.
I mean, he could be the guy who goes to another planet and starts a whole new civilization there
Yep.
of interplanetary exploration and starting, life somewhere else. And the fact that you're sitting with this guy, having an interview with him, and he's obviously revolutionizing everything from automotive to everything else is pretty wild, man.
Yeah.
So I got to give you props.
Thank you.
Kudos for that, man, because
Yeah.
that was major come up on that.
Yeah,
And so
it was
good.
I mean, I think, so thank you. Yeah, it was just, there was actually one other, I'll give you some inside baseball. So actually, I was a part of this group. I won't list the name, but long story short, they got a chance to interview the person, Elon. And I was a part of it. Eventually, I left. But I had actually gotten the okay from Elon to do an interview with him where we were going to bring members and like hang out with the guy. And obviously, I was talking to his EA. We had something scheduled in February of 2020. It got delayed. We all know how 2020 rolled with COVID. And I think he's been through 2 or 3 EAs. So I didn't think it was going to happen. Right, because you get so many opportunities. It's like I said, you kind of everything has to align. Him being in the same location, there not being a fire drill at the factory or something else. But it was truly a life moment for me to be able to just spend that time with him give generously of his time. I mean, we had employees, and actually I talked to one of those employees that was waiting. They were literally waiting to jump on an autopilot call for 3 hours, just waiting for us to stop talking. And that's literally how he was. Like, so 6 o'clock on a day off, he jumps on an autopilot call after we were done. But one of the things I wanted to share too is that, you know, when you're talking to this guy, sometimes he'll just have those moments, literally like 45 seconds, where he's trying to answer like a technical question. And he's just staring up in the air.
I love it. I love it.
And so
His brain's going so fast.
Yep.
Like you can see it when you're conversing with him.
What is your takeaway that he's doing that?
I'm doing it because he's actually trying to answer the question, right? So especially because, you know, we would throw him some softball questions, but when we would actually ask him, some questions that were kind of more deep into the engineering, like he was actually just like really thinking hard about it. It wasn't, but yeah, I think it's just one of those things where he's just it feels like a different planet, you know, or at least he goes into a space. So even in our interview, I think, again, we had 4 hours with him. I think the total actual video time we actually released was only like 3.5 or something, because we edited some of those moments where it's just like because I don't think people want to just watch 45 seconds of Elon thinking per se, but it's just it's one of the things that just differentiates him between, you know, other people you'll meet. And again, I'm not a professional interviewer. I don't have like a Joe Rogan podcast, or I'm not running like Lex Friedman, or, you know what I mean, like some of those big guys. And here he is just sitting down with supporters. And I think actually if you look at a lot of his interviews nowadays, they're with just Joe Schmo's fans, you know, random people. I mean, the guy sat down with the Babylonian Bee. He's just sitting down with like random people, random fans, because that's people he trusts. He's sick of the mainstream media and how for so many years they were just attacking him. So I think that's like some inside baseball of just like, you know, what it was to experience like just an opportunity with, you know, one of the biggest disruptors probably of our lifetime, if not ever.
Yeah, man, that's on, like I said, it's on another level. And when you got to, you know, it was exciting for all of us around you, because we're like, okay, this dude's out here and he's about to go ahead and do an interview with Elon. So I'm going to like pay attention, because how many people that you have that close where I could touch the dude and be like, yo, I'm going to sit down with Elon for 4 hours and have a conversation. Now, I deal with a lot of people that work at Tesla corporate, but there's so many people that work at Tesla for you to be able to sit there and talk to the actual person that you need to talk to is always going to be like, oh, do you have a direct line with Elon? Not really. I mean, he'll be at a certain meeting or he'll be present talking to a group of people, but like having a one-on-one conversation with him, I can see why you said he only responds like 2 words in an email or 3 words in an email, because he's got to be. I was listening to that audio you sent me on
Andy Frisella.
with his meeting times, right? Which is an older audio clip, but it's still applicable to this situation of somebody who's just so fast-paced with his lifestyle and multiple companies that he doesn't have time to sit there and read 2 paragraphs. Yeah. It's like he took a liking to you. He's like, I like this outlet of one of my babies, that it's my brand. Yep. And these people have always shown me in a good light. So I'm going to pay it forward. And now I think you guys have become acquaintances / friends, and you know, that relationship will keep growing over time. But man, that was one to nail, bro.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That was an awesome interview to sit down and talk about like stuff that most people are going to question him on his company and what he did here, what he did there, and what's the technical aspects. But it was like, what do you like to eat? Jack in the Box.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was like,
I was asking about the dudes in college, and he asked a girl like, hey, do you think about electric vehicles? Like, he's literally on a date. I mean, I don't know if you've ever been on a date and someone asks you that question. But, you know, that like, it was those type of conversations. And I think that's what really made it unique was, one, it was a fan that was asking the questions with, you know, not any specific intentions, but really to, again, get the right Tesla story out. And 2, you know, it was, you know, we've been one of his biggest supporters. And I think that's like what made that conversation unique. And it really, actually, if you watched the 3 hours again in consecutive, you'll notice really in the second to third interviews, how relaxed he is. And that's, I think, what a lot of people realize is he was like kind of like you know, Elon Musk unfiltered, where he's just talking freely with a bunch of friends over some beer or coffee. And I think that's, again, what made it really unique. And, you know, hopefully, you know, we'll get another opportunity to talk about some other stuff with the guy. But Yeah, it's just definitely once in a lifetime moment for sure, especially given how much he's disrupting in the industries, whether it's rocketry, whether it's the automotive business, with Neuralink, Boring Company, now Twitter. So was just really grateful for that, especially to get that in the books and get that wrapped, because it's one of those things where, like I said, there's other opportunities and then a pandemic hits, or, maybe he's got a new email address or something else,
Yeah. I mean, the guy has a lot of things going on.
Just a little.
So, you guys are Twitter. People have shared your guys' Twitter comments and conversations so many times, different outlets and networks. And it's like, oh, Elon said this, but then you look at it and it's like a conversation you guys are having, right? So it's like, oh, Tesla owner, Silicon Valley, and then you have Elon Musk making a statement about maybe the car or some advancement. And people are sharing it like, oh, Elon said this is coming out, or Elon said that, but it's because he provoked a conversation.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's what has made it unique. And I think even when I became a Tesla fan, before I kind of started interacting with Elon, I was like, I only want to focus on Tesla. I don't really care about SpaceX and Boring Company and all that other stuff. But then when you, again, watch this guy's story, the guy was running both SpaceX and even Tesla at the same time. He didn't even want to become the CEO of Tesla. He had to because it was almost going bankrupt, and Martin Eberhard was lying about the financials on how much it cost to make a roadster. So that's why he had to step in. He even had like an interim CEO. So I think that's just, what's insane about it is that you kind of just get drawn in, right? Like they're literally in the next month or two, they're going to have the first orbital launch of the Starship, which is going to be the Starship is what's going to take us to Mars, right? So they're going to do the first orbital launch in the next month or two. And this thing, I've been to Starbase, Texas. Like you're literally right in front of the Rio Grande between Texas and Mexico, and this stuff is being built. And so I think what's crazy is that, the way I've engaged him is to be personable, talk about whatever typically he's talking about. So I've done basic things like some of the stuff that you may not, or may be referring to or not referring to. So is like, I said, breaking, Elon Musk is now the richest person in the world. Dude responds, he's like, interesting, wait, and then he responds again, back to work. So that, like, people use that as a motivational, like, quote nowadays. Like, that thing was all over the media, it hit Australia, like, all over. We've had some political responses that have pissed people off. But again, we're just asking questions like, hey, who are you leaning towards or something? But we've also added a lot of features to our Teslas because of that. Like Apple Music, we pushed that we even asked him in person back in May. He just brought Apple Music. If you're in a Tesla, you turn on your blinker, and the side repeater camera shows up. That's because of us, because we got that. So there's like a lot of features that you have now. We got the Model Y track mode for your Model Y performance. That was us. So we're just always kind of just trying to stay relevant with some of his topics, and it may range from Tesla, SpaceX, Twitter to other things.
Well, see, and that says a lot about him. So, because how he always listens to everybody that he can, and he acts on what he hears.
Yep.
Just like there's an interview with somebody. They interviewed him twice, and the first time they interviewed him, it was like at SpaceX. They asked him a question, and he's like, "Stop." How you say he stood there for like 45 seconds? He's like, "Huh, I actually don't have an answer to this." And then they interviewed him again like 2 years later. He's like, "Yeah, no, I remember you." He's like, "Yeah, you asked me this question. It's because you asked me this question that we now have this like figured out on our fucking rocket." And I'm like, "Wait, that's dope." Like somebody just asked a simple question during the podcast. It wasn't something that they had thought of. It's something that they actually needed for the rocket. And then 2 years later, he's like, "Yeah, no, you sparked the answer to this, and we actually have it now, and that helped us on our rocket." Like that was the coolest thing that I've seen on the interview. I was like, "That's insane."
When you have somebody who's worked really hard to shake up systems and the world, for that matter, and they're talking, even if they're talking about Jack in the Box paying attention, they're like, oh, we're going to use this for advertising campaign, right? So it doesn't matter who's talking and what its subject is. It's that monumental of the amount of wave that he can make. And for himself, like you having questions or Twitter tweets or sharing stuff back and forth, you get to see the perspective from him, be able to just have that cerebral thought, like, oh, I didn't think of that, like you said, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or pausing for a little while and then coming up with an answer, or saying, okay, we will put our Apple CarPlay. There's been so many times I've seen you ask questions where he's answered, and it's like, what's up with the FSD update this, or what's up with this? And by the way, the first time I ever did, first time I ever got to experience full self-driving was with you in your custom Model X.
Which was done here, by the way.
Yeah, it's a badass
Slight plug.
But he's got this matte ice blue titanium Model X with some pretty badass wheels on there too.
Yeah.
Sounds like that's the thing that's going to space right there.
Who knows? It might. There's a roadster in space right now.
I know, dude. That we had a shirt like that. We kind of grew up. And, you remember that one? But man. So experiencing that, like watching a computer. Like I said, this is a piece of crazy tech, right? The craziest tech I've ever seen in a car. And I'm sitting there, and this you can see the little dash screen, which they've kind of let the user be able to see how the computer is thinking, analyzing, how it's color coding everything, how it's figuring out, oh, that's a cone. There's this. We're at a 4-way stop. We have to figure out which car's going next, this, that, and the other. There's a curb there. I'm like, dude, this thing is wild. Wild that this computer and some whatever version of its own type of AI is sitting there figuring this out, right? Mm-hmm. And the car's literally driving itself. Now, at that point in time, this was, a year and a half ago, something like that?
No, I think, I've been on FSD now, so 2.5 years. So,
So somewhere around maybe the 2 year mark.
But it was early on, too.
Yeah.
Right.
So it was probably around the 2 year mark, to be honest, from today. And the amount of that it's probably progressed from that time till now is probably even crazier.
Yeah, I think now the biggest things, right? I've done, obviously California's just being rained on right now, but I've taken it on a couple drives in the rain. But I'll be at the Costco parking lot, and it'll take me all the way through the parking lot, navigating carts, people, cars backing out. Again, this is a parking lot, so this is not something like, I'm not even talking roads anymore. I'm talking, parking lots. In the rain, in mild rain. I mean, at some point it does shut off if the rain's too crazy, but that's the progression that it's had. I mean, that's at some point these cars will be able to just go into the robo-taxi network.
See, and that wasn't even a thing back when I worked at Tesla. Like that wasn't even allowed yet. It was like highway usage only, not even on the main roads yet, because there wasn't the infrastructure and there wasn't the legislation there to allow it to do it. Because one of the main things that is like, let's say the car hits something in autopilot, who's at fault? So, like, there's a lot of things that's backing it. So to hear that it's come that far to where he's just, like, going through a Macy's parking lot, like, that's awesome.
Yeah, and I think the
Costco, it's even wilder, bro.
Oh, Costco. Sorry. Oh, man, yeah.
That's why I didn't say Target.
You got gas pumps. You got multiple different styles of carts. You got crazy people walking out with TVs, and you got everything, right? So
that's wild. That's really cool.
Yeah. I mean, that's hard for people to do.
Man, facts.
Especially
out here in California.
Well, you got to be specific, man. No, but I think, and to kind of not necessarily take it a level deeper, but what makes Tesla unique is the way that they're solving autonomy is not geofenced. So they're not in San Francisco or Los Angeles or Las Vegas. You can turn on FSD anywhere. You could be in Connecticut to Florida to, like, they're not geofenced. And so no one is further than them on general autonomy. And I say general as being like they're solving for just everyday things, not a geofence location like Mountain View. Like Waymo was just in Mountain View for like years. Mm-hmm. And I think now, so in Q4 of last year, the big thing that I wanted to call out there was they have now released it where if, let's say you buy a Tesla today, you can now actually enroll into FSD, and if you paid for the subscription, and you'll get the software. Whereas before, like, again, I was actually the first public tester, pretty much in the world, that literally was able to like show what was happening inside of this car. And there was only like, I think, so it went from me to 25 people to 100. Now we're at 285,000 beta testers out there. But again, if you buy a Tesla today, you can get the software and it will take you around the streets wherever you are. Again, obviously only in the U.S. right now and Canada, but that's how wild it's gotten. Literally in 2.5 years, right? Because when you got in my car, it was one of those things too. It was like, you couldn't have like mainstream media in your car. There was NDAs. There's a lot of like restrictions. And now I can take essentially anyone in the car. And again, there's 285,000 of us. So I think that's the big thing that's just differentiated.
Yeah, the fact that you were there to take people, you're someone like me on, I've only heard about full self-driving mode and see it work. And you being one of the first people, actually, you, like you said, the first publicly allowable person to be showing it publicly through your channel and streams, to show that, hey, this is what full self-driving is to where it is today. I had no clues that many people now.
Yeah.
But, I mean, like, we're talking about you were probably a handful of people in the world that had this, and then now there's 285,000 people. And so to be that early on, to have that place, it shows proof. I mean, not many people get to sit down, even in Elon's company, and any one of his companies for that matter, 4 hours undivided to talk about food and business and this and that, right?
Yep.
So it was cool, and he's definitely earned that spot, working his ass off to be able to have moments like this, where he can sit down and his time becomes so valuable where it's even perceived that way. So it is I can see how that's been a cool for us to be vicariously living through you in that moment, and I appreciate you being as candid as you were and saying, hey man, we got this interview, and asking the questions that you did ask, because it helps a lot for a lot of us guys out here too.
Yeah, no, I think well, first off, I just want to thank you guys again. September 2019, walking into your store, on El Camino. Being able to say, hey, I kind of started this club. I don't really know what it's going to become. Will you give a discount or something to like some random guy that walked off the street? And you believed in me, and so believed in what we were doing. And so, again, fast forward literally 4.5 years now, 4 years and like 3 months. We have close to 800,000 followers across all our social platforms. And we have over 5,000 members locally. So, the growth has just been astronomical, and it's people like you believing and seeing the vision, and even some things I probably couldn't have seen at that time. Because I just wanted to get, something listed on our services page that was reputable. And what better than obviously SS Custom. So, just wanted to thank you for that, for believing in that, because that all, paved the amazing partners we've had have paved the way to becoming what it is now, and hopefully where we're headed.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
I put some weight behind who you are as a person. You chalked it up a lot to the group and just saying like his vision in the group. But to be honest, like knowing Shareef on, I feel somewhat of an intimate level now. He has a good judge of character, and I don't think it was necessarily like, oh, he's seen a crazy vision for the group itself per se. I think you presented yourself, as you still do, in a way where it's like he's seen passion. He's like, you know what, regardless, like he's gonna make something happen. So I think a lot of that belief was in you as a person, for sure.
Yeah, no. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
But
It's absolutely, dude. It's been an absolute pleasure to see someone grow the way you've grown, the crew, the amount of people, your just massive meets that you have at the supercharger stations all across California and beyond, and how you've been able to travel to other countries and be able to experience, where was that, Denmark? Austria, and just see the whole supercharger network there, a whole new group of people that are all into Teslas, and he's experiencing the Tesla family in another country like Austria, and him going to all these places, and I'm watching oh dude, I want to go there now. I want to go there, right? And so
what are you talking about, man? I'm trying to. I'm asking hey, you were in Maldives,
dude.
Take me with you.
Yeah, that was pretty awesome. But
I mean, he may or may not be returning here soon.
I know.
Yeah, it might be a little bit of a retake from a snafu from last year, but it was point being is watching people like you and actually take it the whole way through your club has been pretty cool, and seeing you go through these experiences, it gives a lot of proof to people like us who are working hard and believing in us, someone else, just like someone believed in us meaning you guys, your clients, your team, your everyone else, it's reciprocal.
Yep.
And you see how just time needs to do its thing, and you'll see if people are really about what they're about. You know what I mean? And honesty, integrity, all those things that make up a person's character is going to really be able to determine in time if that person actually has those characteristics. And you know, your group, your team, your squad of people there, we've done a crazy thing. If you ever got to check it out, what was it? Tacos,
Beef,
beers,
tacos, the Teslas.
yeah, beers, tacos, and Teslas. We have it here all the time. If you haven't liked this video yet or commented, or subscribed, you should do that right now if you haven't yet. Make sure you
tell
go
a
do
friend,
that.
you know,
Tell
free
a friend,
podcast, tell a
comment,
friend about it.
Tell us what the coolest part about this interview was with yourself. But you know, I want to say if there's, you know, to get close towards a closing here with you, what is something that you could take away from this experience of Tesla owner Silicon Valley, whether it's the Elon thing or something else that you could say is probably the biggest part or the biggest change in your life that's giving you some type of positive remark or whatever have you?
Yeah, definitely. That throws me off a little bit, but just trying to, as far as, because like I feel like that's a pretty, it's an awesome question, and I'm just trying to think. But I would say maybe it's a couple things. It's definitely one of those things where, you know, there's very few times I think in life, and maybe you guys can relate, where you just find something that you're passionate about, and you realize you're like, dang, this is so much bigger than me, right? And landing in the Tesla community at the time, that's one of those things where I realized I was like, this is so much bigger than me. Being able to have, and the owners program, I can literally go wherever Tesla is sold, there's an owners club pretty much there, whether it's state, you know, within all 50 states here, or every European country has a club, and you can connect with people that are like-minded like yourself. And so I think it's just one of those things where when you come upon those things that you're passionate about, it's important, you know, there's only so many opportunities to make sure you step up, you double down, you pursue it. And again, you know, you may get a lot of hate. You may get people not wanting or expecting you to do certain things that they had set the bar here for you, and you're doing things way ahead of that. And so I would definitely say, and then the second thing is always stay humble. You know, it's one of those things where, like, again, I always will remember your story. I'll remember the people on Twitter who were retweeting my stuff. A guy named Trevor Page, he ran the first Model 3 owners forum. But yeah, there's just so many people that, you know, paved the way for me to get to where I'm at. And not that I'm saying I've arrived or anything, but it's just one of those things where always stay humble. Just make sure, you know, you always give back as well. And that's one of the things that we stay true to our club, is making sure we're always giving back to the community, whether it's through toy drives or helping with like hurricane reliefs. Hurricane Ida, we helped with the Austin freeways over. I mean, it's pretty insane that, you know, being able to run a group that can actually make a dent in someone's GoFundMe and promoting that. So, yeah, so I would say the big thing is, you know, the two things would be is, you know, when you find that passion, make sure, you know, if you believe in it, just double down, pursue it with everything you got. And then the second thing would be is just stay humble. You know, never, it doesn't matter. So what if I met with Elon? Yeah, no.
It's always been a great saying, man, but
Always.
it's cool, man. Shout out to you, your team, Kelvin.
Yep.
And everybody else that I've interacted with over the years during our Tesla events here in conjunction with you guys. This year is going to be just as badass. We have that Dragon Ball Z project. We have the Wakanda project that we just finished.
Oh,
we have
man.
so many other cool design Teslas we have so many cool things that we're working on right now, on like customers that are like finally pushing the bar and saying, let's go do something crazy. Let's go do something crazy. And then that leads to somebody else doing crazier. And so this year we want to have a nice array of cars out there, and just so that way people can see something different, something unique.
Yep.
And just bring everybody together for some good times like we usually do.
Definitely.
So looking forward to that. Do you have any last thoughts as well, EJ?
Yeah, actually, just one last question. I'll break it up in a three piece. It's is where you're at the vision that you had? Is the vision that you had farther than where you are, or did you already accomplish your vision and you rode the momentum and you're just still riding the wave of where you're at?
The real question we should probably be asking Shareef. What was I telling him back in?
That's
No,
real.
but-
That's real.
But I mean, unless you want to jump in, no. This is, I guess the big thing I would say that this is a tidal wave that is like so much bigger than what I could have imagined and where we're probably headed. Because like I said, Tesla's in the second inning. Our club is no longer really just seen as, Tesla owners in Silicon Valley. We're not necessarily just seen as like a club running in the peninsula. We're the biggest club in North America. We are the voice really of the Tesla community, Tesla owners. We obviously have Elon Musk's ear. So it's just one of those things where, again, it's always remembering your roots and staying true to those things, especially like, giving back to the community and remembering the people that helped pave the way. But, I would say like, we're definitely thinking bigger, better. We're definitely, thinking of what we want to become.
Now that you're here.
Yeah. I mean, can't stop dreaming.
I know that's right.
Yeah,
Shoot, man.
To see it from our lens, like the guy who just walking into El Camino, saying, "Hey, I got this club I'm starting, man."
I didn't even have stickers at that point.
He didn't have nothing, man. I think he was just putting together a logo that he put together the night before that he walked in the building. But I want to say, and I correct me if I'm wrong, we were like one of the first shops that he decided to come up to, or first sponsors that were part of his thing.
No, you were, yeah.
And I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do it. I believe in this. We've done so many Teslas, and this is as a guy who used to run a car club had like 60 members, which is nothing, right? But it was just, for me, it was big in the East Bay growing up and having a car club where we had meetings and this and that and the other. So when you're like, I want to do one for Tesla owners, we're the Tesla owners Silicon Valley, and I'm like, okay, this is situated where we're at. He seems like a level-headed guy. He knows, he's passionate about this stuff, and every customer we've had come in, it seems to be very passionate about it. I think he's onto something. And the only way you're ever going to get somewhere in life is if you support people along the way.
Yeah.
And everything has that. You can't just be about me. You have to build people along the way.
Yep.
A byproduct is that is you're going to get taken care of and be built, basically simultaneously.
Build
But you
bridges
never
around.
think about yourself in that moment. You're always thinking about how do I help other people, and you'll be always taken care of. And so that's a lot how I move in my thought process. But to see someone actually, you believe in someone to do something, to actually do it takes a lot of hard work, man.
Yeah.
To be able to get something where you build an organization, which is essentially like a company, and you have people, you have to manage all their expectations, their personalities, their qualms, the things that they're happy about, they're not happy about, and be able to host events and go through all these motions. I knew what it felt like running a car club.
Yep.
I know what it's like having a shop and dealing with all these personalities. And so the fact that you've accomplished it and overcame it every single time, it just got bigger and bigger and bigger. I understood that you could, you were built for this stuff, man. This was you.
Yeah, no. Yeah, and I mean, as you said, right, it's typically not one person. But no, so super thankful for our leadership, Kelvin,
100%.
Tim, and Raj.
You guys are all rock stars, man.
You guys are amazing. But yeah, I think that's the biggest thing is that, again, is people helping you out, like yourself, like SS Customs and some others. That really helped. But yeah, no, it's pretty incredible. I mean, ultimately, I don't know where this is all going. I have an idea of like what we're going to be accomplishing this year. But ultimately, I don't have the last paragraph in the story. And hopefully that paragraph is not for a while. But either way, it's been an awesome ride. I've been trying to enjoy every moment of it. Shout out to my wife for being my biggest supporter, as I know you have an amazing woman backing you up as well.
Smart man. Good plug.
Yeah, she'll be on the podcast soon, so her date's coming up soon. Yeah. That's gonna be a fun one.
Oh, yeah.
We're gonna be grilling each other.
Yeah, no, but it takes like a village, of people
100%,
to really
dude.
just help out and make things big, right?
Yeah.
And so similar to what you guys are doing here, right? I mean, your reputation is can't be taught by really anybody, and so it's just you guys keep that reputation going, and so that's the great thing with as big as you guys have gotten, moving from El Camino to here. Being booked out for literally months consistently. It just speaks to who you guys are.
Yeah, man, it's not easy keeping everybody rowing in the same direction, day after day, year after year with the same vigor and making sure that everything still looks the same part, all around. And that, just like running a club, it takes a lot of work, discipline, and a really great group of people.
Yep.
All the people that work here that you saw working in the background earlier, AJ, everybody downstairs, Tanya, all the people that are just kicking ass every day, from Fonzo and the production to Sean to like I said, AJ and Tanya, to Bobby D, who's usually running all this stuff, and everybody else that's in the mix. Man, that's what it takes. It really is the teamwork. So shout out to everybody out there, man, and shout out to you for taking the time to come out and hang out with us today. And we're looking forward to many, many more events going into the future, and seeing the growth of Tesla owners, Silicon Valley and beyond. And glad to be part of your journey. Thanks you for including us in it, and looking forward to the future, man.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me. I'm just super big fan of your guys' work and what you guys are doing, what you've personally even done on my car twice now. So I'll have to get the truck ready to go whenever it comes. But either way,
both.
You first though. Of course,
we'll do it together, man. We're gonna match you. Don't worry. But yeah, man, looking forward to it, and appreciate all y'all guys' time. Thanks again for checking out our podcast, SS Customs Under Wraps. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. We are signing off for tonight.
Time to go buy a
Peace.
Tesla.